Hey there, I hope you're enjoying this year's virtual JNUC. Thank you for joining this session. My name's Suzanne Sakaria. I am Senior Sales Director here at Jamf. And today I'm going to be taking you through our data policy solution. I'll show you how you can use Jamf Data Policy to ensure acceptable usage, eliminate shadow IT, and block any unwanted and risky content. Now, I recommend that you do check out some of the other sessions in the series to know more about Jamf's latest acquisition of Wandera and the services that we provide. Specifically, make sure you check out Michael Covington talking about security for the modern workplace, Adam Boynton on how to protect your mobile users, devices, and organizational data from malicious intent, and Matt Vlasak's deep dive into zero trust network access. These talks will give you a great overview of Jamf's latest acquisition, talking about our 3 core services. But enough about them, let's get down to data policy. So Wandera and Jamf have really reorganized the way that we talk about security when it comes to mobile devices. And we provide these in 3 key areas. We protect your data against threats. We manage your data to avoid any unnecessary overages or people from browsing inappropriate sites, and we can help to provide secure access to your business applications. These services are all delivered via one application for the end user and one administration console for the administrator. So it's very easy to manage, and it really has been created to be a set up and go solution. So once you've configured all of your devices and once you've set up all your policies, it's not a service that you're going to need to go in and manage on a daily basis. And I'm sure that's music to many people's ears. So like I said, today we're going to focus on Jamf Data Policy. With Data Policy, we give you the controls to extend your acceptable usage policies down to your mobile devices. We give you real-time insight into your data, and it starts with visibility into the usage by user, site, app, country, so you can really understand the who, what, and where of your mobile data. Combine this with granular controls to help you to manage when certain sites are available or what sites are available, and now you've got a solution that can help you to manage your mobile data bills, set an acceptable usage policy, and prevent shadow IT, which is the unauthorized use of IT services such as cloud storage, which we could talk about a little bit later. You can use these controls to set policies that are appropriate to your business and change them as and when you see fit. You no longer have to be at the whim of your network or your mobile data provider, and you can see any spikes in data usage as they happen. Eliminate unexpected overages and help educate your users about the sites they're visiting. So let's take a closer look. Jamf Data Policy gives you the controls to extend your acceptable usage policies down to your mobile devices. Do you have users that travel? You can use our roaming controls to ensure that wherever your users go, they won't get stung with any unexpected bills from extortionate roaming charges. The network usage controls that we provide give you peace of mind that your users won't go over the limits that you set. And for data pools, you can still share out your data to avoid a situation where one user could blow the entire data pool for all of your devices for a month. And as schools, colleges, universities look for ways to help their staff and their students to excel through mobile devices, they want to make sure that internet access that they're providing is safe wherever they are, whether they are on campus or at home. Content filtering controls mean that you can extend your acceptable usage policies down to your mobile devices. Different policies can be set for different groups of users, and you can set different policies for different departments, for example. Maybe, for example, your marketing department need to have access to social media for advertising or promotions. You can set up groups by department so that social media is allowed for marketing, but it's blocked for other areas of the business, thus promoting productivity while still allowing your employees to get on with their job. Most businesses want to be able to allow a level of flexibility for their users. We realize that on mobile, the boundary between business and personal is blurrier than that on desktop. You can use Jamf Data Policy to set a data threshold, but even once that threshold is reached, you can prioritize business sites so people can still access their email, for example, or maybe the company website. And you can do that by adding these sites to an allow list so your users can still do their job. Our users have been accustomed to, or they've become accustomed to getting whatever they want immediately. So if your IT processes prevent them from being able to do this, the chances are that your users will try and find a way around it. They'll try and find an alternative route. And that could be sending a sensitive document to their personal email so that they can then edit it or send it to somebody else. It could be that they're using an unauthorized storage service to store customer data so they've got all of their customer details whenever they need them. These are all examples of shadow IT and could cause a huge problem for your business, resulting in a data breach that takes time and a lot of money to clean up. You can use data policy to prevent shadow IT and ensure your users are only using the services approved by your business. You may even want to restrict certain sites when your users travel to particular roaming zones because of how expensive it can be to use data in other countries. Data policy allows you to set different controls dependent on where your user is, or even set policies based on whether the user is connected to Wi-Fi or cellular data. Network usage controls offer a lot more functionality than you get from a standard cap from your mobile network. Those caps can be pretty inflexible and could cause problems for your mobile fleet if a cap is reached. Maybe when that cap is reached, it will prevent everybody in your mobile fleet from accessing data. You can imagine the turmoil that will happen from that. With Jamf Data Policy, we offer flexibility and simplicity as well as real-time visibility to help you and your users understand their data consumption. End users have the app on their device that shows them how far they are away from their limit and how much data they've used so far. Notifications can be customized so that users are alerted before they reach their limit. And that avoids any last-minute surprises. Reports in the administration console show who has reached their cap and how much data has been used by each device. Once the threshold has been reached, you can choose from two options for your users. You can either choose to cap, which will restrict the data usage, or you can choose to allow, which will simply send the users an alert to let them know how much data they've consumed, but it won't stop them from using data. So let's take the cap option to start off with. Like we said, this will restrict the data, but we still want to be flexible enough to allow your users to be able to do their job. So as you can see below, there is an allow list. So anything that is business critical, you can stick on that list. Maybe it's your email or the company website, Office 365, for example. And anything on that allow list, your users will still be able to access even if they reach their limit. These caps and these allow lists can differ for different groups of users or even for an individual user if you need to. Now let's take a look at the allow option. Like I said, what this will do is simply send the users an alert to let them know that they've reached their limit, but it won't stop them from using data. And our customers like to use this for either users that are in dangerous zones where it would actually be quite detrimental or harmful to them to restrict their data, or simply for senior management where you don't want to lock them down too much, but you at least want to let them know how much data they're using. Oftentimes these senior management are the heaviest data users, but they're probably paying the bills, so maybe they're allowed to. Simply sending that alert means that at least you've done all you can do to let them know how much data they're consuming. These caps will be set for cellular usage only. So what you could do is use these as a good way to encourage your users to jump onto Wi-Fi if they want to access sites that use a lot of data. This way you can encourage responsible behavior, you can keep your data bills low, and prioritize business content. Roaming travel can result in some tricky situations without the correct controls. We've had customers that have gone away on business, downloaded one track to iTunes, which has then triggered an entire library sync, 75 gigabytes. And it wasn't until they got back that the data bill came through and they realized that one user had racked up tens of thousands of dollars, all from one song. Much of the time, these things happen by accident, but there can be scenarios where users would rather use their corporate issued devices when they go on holiday because they're not paying the bill. My friends did this when we went on holiday to Thailand a couple of years ago, but don't tell anybody I told you that. And it's because they don't see the bill, they don't understand how much data is being used and how much that's costing, but they know they don't want to use their own devices. Now, for some customers, they need their users to actually tell them they're going abroad before they go so they can apply the right roaming bundle before they travel. And you can imagine how successful that is. Someone always forgets. With Jamf Data Policy, you can actually we automatically detect when your users are outside of their roaming zone, and you can set policies based on country. This avoids the need for users to have to tell you when they go to a specific zone and avoids the extortionate data bills, more importantly. Again, you can see any spikes in data usage as they happen in real time rather than having to wait until you get your bill back. Notifications can be triggered from the application to alert users to the fact that they're not on their domestic policy anymore, and they can see via the app what they are and aren't allowed to access. So that end user education is super important. The administration console shows real-time reports on usage by country that can be filtered down to devices, and you can even do a report by individual carrier if you configure your data plans in the portal. Okay, so you've given out iPads to your students so that they can have access to school resources when they're out of the classroom or even off campus. How can you ensure that their access is safe? The immediate concern might be around productivity. How can I make sure my students aren't wasting their time playing games when they should be working using the tools that we've provided? But there is a security element too. How can I make sure that the sites my users are accessing are safe and not hosting malware? Like most things, security breaches can start with an innocent mistake, but that doesn't take away from the fact that sensitive data could be lost, and a security breach can be very expensive to clean up. With Jamf Data Policy, you can set context-aware policies based on individual sites or entire categories. So, for example, you can block adult, gambling, or extreme content over cellular data and Wi-Fi. Our Sites and Apps report shows all of the sites that have been accessed, and if you need to true up your policies, any changes that you make will be reactive instantly. Your users can see via the app what they are and aren't allowed to access to help them to be more responsible over their data usage and help them to police their own activity. Now, I can't stress enough the benefit of having real-time visibility for the user and for the administrator. Via the app, users can truly understand the impact of their data usage with easy-to-interpret reports. They can understand your company's acceptable usage policy because it shows them what they are and aren't allowed to access. And as soon as users go roaming, it alerts them to the fact that they are under a different policy. There's no way that users will not know how much data they're using. Okay, so let's jump into the portal now and show you what that looks and feels like. Now, if you've seen the other Wandera sessions, you'll be familiar with the portal. As we said at the beginning, this portal gives information about access to your business applications, the security rating of your devices. But today we're going to focus on data policy and what you can achieve here. This dashboard is a great place to start. It shows you the top sites that users are accessing, what countries your users are in, how much data they're using in each country, and who your top users are. And I can go into a lot more detail in the tabs along the left-hand side here. Let's click on the Data Management tab. This first tab shows usage by user. Now, this is a report that you would be able to get from your network, but as we said at the beginning, it's retrospective, whereas this is in real time. So you can see and monitor any spikes in data usage as they happen. This can be configured by time, and we keep data for several months. You can even do a report for a specific user by simply typing in their name. We've filtered all traffic here, but you could just filter domestic traffic or Wi-Fi traffic or roaming. And you can even do it by device. The tab that our customers find very useful is this Sites and Apps tab. Here you can see exactly which sites and apps people are accessing and how much data they're consuming. If I click on iCloud, for example, it will show me who the users are. Now you might be thinking, what about Big Brother? I don't want my users to think that I'm spying on me. Well, there is an anonymization feature. Here you can see that instead of the user's name, we've got a string of letters and numbers. So if you wanted to anonymize the user information, but still see what sites people are accessing, this is a great option for you. The roaming tab here will show you exactly how much data is used per country. And like we said, you can see it by carrier as well. I can get a report on caps hit. Here, I've actually got no caps that are being hit, which is great. And I can also see a report on tethered data. So how many devices have been tethering and how much data has been used on tethered traffic. Something to remember is that while we can show how much data is used on tethered traffic, it won't show you the sites that have been used because the device that it's tethering to is not using the data policy service. What some of our customers do is let the service run for a couple of weeks so they've got a great understanding of how and where their data is being used. Then after that 2 weeks, they can use the data that they find in these reports to then set policies that are really focused on the business. In the policy section, I go to block policy. Here is where I configure all of the controls for groups of users, for individual users, or set a base policy for the entire mobile fleet. We have a list of categories here, such as adult, advertising, cloud and file storage. You can configure whether you want your users to be able to access these, and if so, how you want them to access. So in terms of setting your content filtering policies, you probably want to make sure things like adult or gambling or extreme content are blocked across any traffic interface, domestic, roaming and Wi-Fi. That's possible in here. But for some sites, you might only want to block them when your users are roaming, or maybe just when your users are connected to cellular data. Things like YouTube or other video content, they do tend to use lots of data. We call them data hungry sites. So instead of blocking them completely, you can say, right, you are allowed to access these sites, but only if you're connected to Wi-Fi, or only if you're connected to Wi-Fi in these particular zones where it's very expensive to use data. So everything is very granular and very configurable, and any changes you need to make in this portal will be reactive instantly. So you can go into the portal and true that up at any time. Here is where you configure your data thresholds. Again, this can be done by groups of users or individual user, and for domestic and roaming. You can configure this cap to be a certain number of megabytes or a percentage of your entire allowance. So this service is applicable for users that have their own data allowance or whether you've got a data pool. You can see here the options that we mentioned earlier, setting a cap to restrict the data usage, or choosing allow, which will simply send the user an alert. Your allow list is configured here. Now we've got a list of some sites already, but anything that you need to add, you can just use in the custom allow list here. The notifications are really useful. So rather than your user getting to their data cap and then being cut off and complaining to IT, you can configure these notifications so they get the first notification at 75% of their cap, for example, and regular notifications every 5% after that. These notifications can be triggered for the user. They'll be sent via push notifications in the application or via email. That's up to you. And you can configure the notifications that go to the administrator as well. Maybe you want to be notified when you're at 80% of your limit, and then regular notifications after that. The notifications that get sent to the users can be customized. So you might want to direct them to a certain place. Maybe you want to include the number for support or direct them to a certain individual within the organization. All of that can be configured for the email notifications and the browser notifications. If you've been blocked from a site, users will want to know why they've been blocked from a site. You could add the company logo as well to make sure that they're paying attention. So that's a high-level overview of the portal, and hopefully that gives you a good understanding of our data policy solution. Thank you so much for listening. My name's Suzanne Sakaria. Have a great day.